back when I first started working with athletes, the challenge was getting information. Now the challenge is disseminating what information is like really good and what is just total BS.
We've had two major technology changes in the last, especially 10 years. They've been brewing for a while. One being social media algorithms and an infinite scroll of what is fed to you, and another being AI. Have you noticed any differences with those two things and just questions people have, things that people hyperfixate on?
You know, people are kind of, I don't want to use the A word, but I guess a lot of them are addicted to that kind of stuff, you know. And AI has made it super easy, and social media has made it super interesting, I guess you would say. So in short, those things, in my opinion, have made it easier and made it harder at the same time, if that makes sense. And it's really changed the challenges as well. That, along with coaching culture, you know, back in the day, 45, 50 years ago, if you were a coach, you were almost like a dictator, and you were kind of expected to kind of coach like a dictator, and it's my way or the highway, and that was pretty much what athletics was all about. Well, now with all this other stuff out there, there's a million coaches out there that you can go to, you know, so all of a sudden coach doesn't have that leash on an athlete the way they used to either. So it's, in some ways, in many cases, it's a constant battle to continue to prove yourself. So no doubt those things, as wonderful as they can be, have made things much, much more difficult. And I really feel bad for clients and athletes and people, because the whole I'm missing out thing is always, it keeps you from happiness. I mean, you know, ultimately to be content in what you're doing means you're happy, and to always be on the exploration for something else like that. Not that exploration isn't worthwhile, but to constantly think that there might be something better out there while you're trying to really invest in what you're doing is very difficult. I feel sorry for people in that regard, you know?
So you could get that as a coach and just as an athlete, both sides. It's I have to be stronger, I have to jump higher, I have to do, which was always a pressure, but now you see it on your face in your bed before you go to sleep.
Exactly.
And as a coach, it's I need this, I need that.
It's very difficult, you know, and the other piece of it is that now you know exactly what your competitors are doing, whereas back in the day you really didn't know what they were doing.
Who is more ready to follow your advice? The person looking for help with performance, or the person looking for help with a pain or an injury?
I don't think it's either. It depends upon people's level of motivation. I see people who are extremely highly motivated in both areas, and I see people that are very disengaged in both areas at certain times. Obviously, the people that are disengaged are typically not as successful long term. But I don't notice big differences, to be honest with you. It's another reason why I go back to the whole rehab and training are the same thing kind of argument.
Do you still work with people who are disengaged?
Oh, at my age, I don't have to. I can choose to be picky. You know, I'm very fortunate, because at my stage of my life, you know, when people seek me out, they typically already have made a significant commitment at that point in time. But there's always somebody. You know, there's always somebody. It wasn't that long ago that I was working in a university for a team, and basically this person was kind of assigned to me, or I was assigned to them, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they trusted me or knew who I was, even for that matter, you know. So, you know, what's interesting is that, and this is coaching, but what's interesting is, you know, I coached in university for a long time, then I left for 10 years and I came back, and everybody told me, oh, they're way different now. They're way different now. It was kind of different, but it really wasn't. You know, what was funny is, you know, back when I first started, as I said earlier, you were almost like the dictator, you know, and athletes were going to do what you said because that was how sports worked, and that was, you know, you had a coach, that's the coach, you know, and that's just what it was. It was expected, so to speak, you know. But I suspect at some point in time, the athlete was either on board with you or not on board with you. You know, either they were with you or they were faking it, you know, but you were the coach, so they had to at least appear to be going along. The thing that I thought changed quite a bit was that the coach or the trainer or the therapist, now you're almost on trial for a while. Like they're looking for something, you know, and you're almost on trial. But when they realize that you have something that can help them, when they realize that there's a little bit of nuance to you and maybe you're a little more sophisticated than what they're used to or whatever, then they're hooked. And what I found when I came back after those 10 years was that after I kind of went through my trial period, so to speak, I could get anybody to do anything I wanted them to do. Anything I wanted to do, I could get them to do it if I framed it correctly, and there was no problems whatsoever. You know, so I think the way people view coaches or maybe trainers or doctors or therapists for that matter has changed. But I still think that if you're basically effective in your job, that it's really not as different as it's ever been.
The problem with the social media age is that people always think there's the next shiny thing. But you're also saying if you frame things the right way, then they're gonna really buy in. Can you talk a little bit about how you frame things or how you get that person to listen?
As a person who teaches, as a person who lectures, and as a person who coaches, I always felt there's a lot of value in the aha moment. Like when you're talking to a person and you say, I bet that you've had a problem with that. Oh, how do you know that? Well, because and then all of a sudden they realize this is not the same stuff, you know, and I really think, you know, that, I need to do more of this. No, you need to do less of this. Why? And you explain it, and it's an entirely, when you flip the world upside down, you know, then they realize that you're not just that average person. You're not that typical person, per se. So I always felt that, like, there's value in that. And I don't want to make it like providing moments means you're fake by any means. You know, what you say is true, what you say is science-based and whatever, but it's just runs maybe outside of the most common, it runs counterculture to some extent, you know. Like the other day, I have an athlete I'm working with right now, and he's kind of struggling in his event. And he just wants to practice that event more and more and more and more and more and more, and he's struggling with it. And the thing I told him was, well, it's been my experience that when you're having these particular problems and you're having a real hard time being aggressive here, that piling on repetitions beats you up and it tends to make you less aggressive, and then the things get worse. So we're better off doing a little less, but just doing it better when we do. And he had never even considered that as a potential solution to this problem. So, okay, that we diffused it today, you know, on June 26th, we solved that problem, and he understands that. Now, I'm not going to say that in 4 days that he might not return to that philosophy, but you have to be able to really voice your beliefs in a way that is accurate, understandable, and convincing. To me, that's very important. And, you know, like, you're never going to be 100% right. And I don't think most clients, athletes, or anybody really expect you to be 100%, but they want you to be right about 90% of the time.